So, Jim, when you assess sentiment this morning, is it about Buffett? Is it about wider delineation between a reopening and economic normalization? Or is it about the president's comments last night and just inflaming already existent fears of U.S.-China trade tensions?
I was all for taking on the Chinese when our economy was really robust. And I think the Chinese, the people, the Communist Party's bad actors, not the Chinese. I mean, there's like a billion people. They're not bad actors, and a lot of them love Americans. But I think it's really important to recognize that the president now seems to want to raise tariffs for the 30 million people unemployed. So there we are. That is 1932. I mean, I was happy that we raised tariffs when the economy was humming. And I do believe that the Chinese, again, I don't know what happened exactly in Wuhan. Nobody knows. But I don't want to take them on right now. And I listen to the president. He's like, acts as if the economy is just doing great or that it's going to come right back. But we got to be careful. There are historical paradigms that are very bad when your economy's doing poorly and you raise tariffs. And I think that the history books have to be open. That's not fake news. That's history.
Right. Right. The fact is the Chinese economy is recovering, although it's not as clear the Chinese consumer is willing to spend. And we're sort of seeing that in some of the early numbers here in terms of regions and parts of the economy there. Well, now that much of it is reopened. But they are coming back more quickly, perhaps, than we will. And that's, yet something else that we'll be looking back at in terms of wondering about, I think, Jim, how quickly they were able to rebound versus how long it will take us to, and the rest of the Western world to a certain extent. Although there seems to be no doubt that many companies are focused on their supply chains and trying to figure that out and perhaps changing it in a way that they even hadn't thought about during the height of the trade war with China.
Well, it is interesting to see how many companies have these really awful supply chains that are rooted through China. And I'm glad we're speaking to Mark Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, because so many products start in China or were routed through China, and the president's saying, listen, get out of China. It's going to be hard. China really hooked us. Now, look, what are you going to do? Most of our companies are about making as much money as possible, and China was the cheapest producer. But when you think about it, you think, okay, Apple, that stock was doing very well until the president really went ballistic about China. And Pompeo's comments this weekend basically just say it is a vast international conspiracy by the Chinese against the rest of us. And I don't think it's a vast international conspiracy. I think the bats got too close in the wet markets. But if he wants to build a case to try to get it so people don't want to cooperate with the Chinese, again, that's going to cause a lot of problems with our companies. Look, I don't want to represent earnings per share versus patriotism, but we have to recognize that what was said this weekend was chilling.